Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at some old friends, player character sheets. I'm going to go through a few different versions of these, right up to the last one they published for AD&D. So we're going to take a look at these and why they were kind of needed. You start out on a 3x5 index card myself, and then I went to a piece of notebook paper, and then to these guys. So we're going to take a look at why these were important in AD&D and why I still use them. So today rather, on page 121, player character sheets. Player character record sheets. Oh, I like these things. Why? Because they help you keep track of your player, or of your character rather. So this is an old set that I actually got from a buddy of mine as he left playing D&D. So there's only a few in here. But as you can see, they were listed. They used to have them listed as Thief, Assassin, and Monk. And there are a few very minor differences there. Here is the Magic User Illusionist. I'll show you better in the next book that's more complete. There are a few minor differences on the sheets, but not a bunch to go into. Here for the Thief and the Monk, you have your Thief skills listed below, whereas for the Magic User, you have your spells that you have memorized. So that was really the chief difference there. And then they had the multi-classed Bard and all the goodies that came with that. So this one was from 1979. This one I bought off the shelves in 1981. I bought it in 81 or 82 possibly, but it's from 81. And this one has basically the same sheets within. And again, there's your Cleric Druid. You start out with your Fighter, Ranger, and Paladin. Got some old characters in here, in fact. The Fighter, Ranger, Paladin. And of course, Rangers and Paladins can know some spells and things like that. So, depends on which version you're using. So, these were very useful for the player to keep track of their stuff. But as a GM, DM, I prefer when players use actual character sheets. When I'm looking for something that their character may have or can do, it's much easier if I have a standardized character sheet to look at rather than some homemade one. Not necessarily saying everybody at the table has to use my character sheets. They don't. They can use whatever they want to, but I just find it easier overall if I have 5 or 6 players, if when I'm looking at their sheets, I only have to look in the same place on each sheet. So, with the Fighter, Ranger, Paladin set, the Cleric, Druid, so these are set up just like the classes and subclasses on the player's handbook. And then Cleric, Druid, Magic User, Illusionist, with room for your various spells. So there were some differences in the sheets that made them a little more customized. Magic User, Illusionist, Thief, Assassin, Monk. Go to blank one of those. There we go. Thief, Assassin, Monk. As you can see by some of the characters that I've come across while I'm in here, I used to use these as the primary home for my player characters. Again, early 80s, no access to Xerox machines. So you just bought a set of the sheets and then you kept your characters in the sheet, which was the idea. There's no express permission given to copy these. The idea was that you would just buy more. And from a company point of view, that's a pretty good idea. So there we have the multi-classed Bard as the last one. So the backs of the sheets, I really didn't feature those too much, but it has a place for your possessions, your magic items. Unfortunately, any kind of sheet like this, once the character's been around for a while, you want to put some notes on its history, on the various magic items it's had, and things like that. It's hard to keep it on a sheet this small. But these were very useful. Here we go. Some DM information. And there's what the back looked like. This is what drew us into buying it. Now the last one is the REF2. REF1 was the Dungeon Master screen. These were released in 86. And these are the ones we still use today. As you can see, I've torn several pages out of this. It has the honor rating right there because Oriental Adventures had just been released, and they were still trying to make that an important part of AD&D. So it just gave you some really nice, clean, basic character sheets. No class divides here. You would just write in whatever you needed to for whatever class you were. Big wounds area, so you can track your wounds as you game. So very useful. And then the thing that really sold me on these were the spellminders. The spellminders. I'm going to zoom in on those. I love these things. Prior to these being published, we had an informal rule that you could only have 3 of any one spell in memory. We had too many games where the cleric was running around and all he had in first level was Cure Light Wounds. And that's what's the fun in that? Well, this, if you see, I'm going to zoom in real tight. Here, we'll go to there we go. Okay, there are only 3 boxes. So we said, you know what? That's our rule from now on. You can only have 3 of any one spell memorized at any time. So magic missiles, you can have 3. You can't take 6 or 8. You can only memorize 3. This made players who would just stay with the same spells over and over again. They forced them to diversify a little bit and made them look at other things their characters could do. So these sheets were very nice. I'm a big fan of these. I'm going to pull back out. There we go. Okay. So these are the MU sheets, which go 2 pages. Because MUs have lots of spells. It even has the cantrips down there. And now we go to cleric spells. So there's all the cleric spells. And the nice thing was these had notations behind them that for a lot of spells you could just do a quick check of this sheet. It's kind of blurry. Pull back out. You could check the sheet for the range, the casting time, the duration. It was all on the sheet. Now the print's a little small. As my eyes have gotten older, oh well, that's what glasses are for, right? I still use spellminders every one of my characters, so all my players use them. And that's not mandatory by me, that's our choice. On the back side of the cleric, we have the illusionist spells and illusionist useful cantrips. And then the druid spells. So you get the idea. These were really handy for DMs. I love these spellminders. This is the thing that sold me on this entire product. Here are Shukenja spells from Oriental Adventures on the back of the druid spells. And then, not to be outdone, the Wu Zhen spells from Oriental Adventures. So again, all the little notations of what the spell is and does. Wu Zhen are magic users in OA, so they have a lot of info there. And now here is the little key to what all the abbreviations in the book stand for. So just a really useful book. I'll show you the back of it. A version of these is available on DriveThruRPG, although I did not see the REF2. If you Google around a little bit, you may find some, but since I don't know the status legally of those various websites, I'm not going to link them. Just go ahead and browse on your own. I've got one more thing to show us today, and that is from 1981, AD&D Instant Rub Down Picture Transfers. These are monsters. This is the only set I remember owning. My wife says we had a couple more, but we were unable to lay our hands on them. These are rub-ons. I only have 1 sheet left. I think it came with 3. There are the monsters. These are actually pretty nice pictures, and I like these a lot. I did use them on some of my character sheets or some of my dungeon notebooks over the years, as you do when you're new to a game and you're excited about it. Hey, let's face it, for D&D, anything they put out, I bought. There's the back if you want to see it. And here's the back of the sheet with the directions, the instructions. So I'm not really sure how many sets of these came out. I want to say it was 2 or 3. These are the More Monsters set. I think there was one for player characters and then a basic monster one. My wife says we have more monsters. She says we have one with mind flayers. I didn't really find a bunch on this where I looked, but honestly, I didn't spend all that much time looking for it because these are just a nice little nonsuch that I thought I'd throw into the video. So that's it for today for page 121. If there's any other old D&D stuff you want to see reviewed, if I've got it, I'll be happy to. So any suggestions are welcome. Comments or polite criticisms are also welcome. And that's, if you like what you heard, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on page 121.